Welcome to the Eldorado Gaming Deck Series. Eldorado Gaming is your site for premier accessories like metal dice and playmats. Eldorado Gaming sponsors the My Mythical Meta podcast, and the Deck Series features Magic the Gathering decks played by the My Mythical Meta crew. Subscribe to the channel and comment with your own suggestions or questions for the players.
Welcome back to My Mythical Meta. My name is Benjamin, and I'm joined today by my good friend, Derek.
That's me.
Hey, we're trying something a little different today. We were going to do a how to upgrade a Tarkir Precon, and we ultimately decided we're just going to make a new deck and do a deck tech on it. So
I was brought here under false pretenses because I did think we were going to upgrade my fantasy baseball team. I do need the help.
So we have created this deck. We've been working on it for hours. We're very, very tired, but we figured we need to get an episode out for y'all. So we put it together.
In the forge, tink, tink.
Just in the mines, getting magic cards out.
These decks aren't going to build themselves, guys.
That's right. So anyways, this episode goes out to our patron, David. David. He loves deck building. I think one of our earliest deck techs was y'all doing a deck doctor for David. So David,
yeah, the Miriam.
That's right. So we've got another dragon today. Hopefully he enjoys this. You can learn more about our Patreon and its perks at patreon.com/mymythicalmeta. And where can our viewers interact with us and contact us directly if they have questions or suggestions for our show?
Well, they can go to any one of our channels on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, any of that. Leave a comment, always. And they can also email us at mymythicalmeta@gmail.com. I think.
Yes.
I'm not used to the one that says this.
That's right. The mymythicalmeta@gmail.com. All right. So we started off thinking that we were going to upgrade the Sultai Arisen Tarkir Precon deck, but Derek actually had a better idea. So we did take the core of that deck, but we pivoted. We changed the face card from one of the commanders that was in the deck is now the commander. And tell us about your idea for this deck.
Yeah, so my birthday was coming up. I'm super into the Tarkir flavor. Green, blue, black is my favorite color type. And they had this guy come out, and I've been thinking about a Sultai Landfall deck for a long time. And I saw this guy's abilities, and I thought, this would probably be pretty cool. This is Teval, the balanced scale, green, black, blue, and 1 for a Spirit Dragon 4/4 with flying. When Teval attacks, mill 3 cards. Then you may return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. In Sultai, we talked about it in our Reanimator episode with things like Muldrotha. It's fairly easy to get lands out of the graveyard. So I felt like with the mill trigger on Teval, getting to return a land from there, and then getting payoffs from getting those lands out of the graveyard, I feel like this is going to be a deck that can accrue a ton of value fast. Ideally, hopefully. We haven't put it through the ringer yet against
That's right.
other studs in the meta.
Yeah.
But here's hoping.
Yeah, so if you're watching this, you can go buy the Tarkir Dragonstorm Commander Precon deck called Sultai Arisen, and you will have roughly half the cards that we're going to talk about today. And then we took out all the bad cards, plus all the cards that didn't fit a landfall-based Reanimator theme, and we replaced them with good cards. Now, some of the cards we're going to talk about are pretty expensive. There's a land that's $40. Derek, what should our listeners do about that?
Yeah, so do not let this price tag scare you. Not every card we're going to mention needs to be played, but printer ink is free. Use it. Magic is getting more and more expensive. You need to cut the corners where you can, and you shouldn't let that stop your fun. Because if you can't have fun in this game, what is the point?
Exactly. And notably, none of the cards in this deck are game changers. You could put this together, and it'd be a 2. Now,
a theoretical 2. I'm sure it's probably more of a 3, or I doubt it's a 4, but could be a mid to low.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure where the line is crossed from precon to upgraded precon to you just built another deck and it's just using cards that are in precons.
You ever seen the meme where it's the horse and it's like different stages of the horse of development, whatever, and the first half is like super crudely drawn, and then it's just totally like a perfect horse, like almost photorealistic. Yeah. I feel like that's what it is. There's like bad parts of or non-optimized parts of the precon with like super optimized, like high meta stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I say high meta. We
No,
don't have Cyclonic Rift.
That's right.
This could be worse.
Right. I'd probably, if I had to guess with what we just built, I bet we built a solid 3. That's what I would guess. But there are no game
That's where
changers. So if
yeah.
you want to pub stomp, you can call it a 2. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly, jump in with the 3, take out even more of the guts of the precon, put in more counter spells, interaction, things like that, and it'll eventually bump it up to a 4 fairly quickly.
Yeah. So the goal here is to get lands in your graveyard, play them out of your graveyard, constantly get a bunch of landfall triggers, and basically play out of your graveyard. And in doing so, you will trigger Teval, who will get you an army of black zombie druid creature tokens, and a lot of the other landfall triggers that we have in the deck. So let's start with our land section. You'll notice here we're playing 40 lands. Why are we playing 40 lands? Seems too much.
Silly, it's a landfall deck, and you're gonna see lands in a landfall deck.
That's right.
I think that honestly, 40 might not even be enough to really like get cranking with this stuff. We've got a lot of fetch lands. We've got a lot of
we did stick in like the polluted delta and the misty rainforest and those sorts of foreboding landscape.
We've got some utility lands like the channel lands from Neon Dynasty Kamigawa. Kamigawa. Seiju Who Endures lets us discard it and destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls. That player may search the library for a land card with a basic land type. Put on the battlefield, blah, blah, blah. It costs green and 1 to do that, but it could cost 1 less if you have a legendary creature, which, I mean, there's a fair bit of that in this deck.
The commander.
So, the commander. Certainly a lot of the flashier cards are legendaries.
Yeah. These channel lands, we've also got Takamuna, and I don't think we put Otawara in here. I would probably put Otawara in here. But Takamuna, same thing. It costs less for your legendary creatures, and you can mill 3 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Hey, this card wants things in the graveyard. It loves to recur. It's going to be doing that. This just fits right in there. And then with the rest of the deck, you can return it right back to the battlefield after you've played it.
The most brutal part of the price tag on this deck is in this land base. A lot of it came with the precon, but we added, like the really good fetch lands, the ones that let you take a damage and sack it to go get a forest, or polluted delta. What's the other 2?
Misty Rainforest and
Verdant Catacombs.
Verdant Catacombs. Yeah, I went the wrong direction.
You don't have to run those, and that'll save you quite a bit of money. We also put the Surveil lands. Usually we like to run Scry lands, or at least I do, with the Temple lands. Surveil just works so well with this deck. It's letting you look at cards, letting you fill the graveyard. It's just doing overtime. This is the kind of stuff we always talk about. We want cards to do multiple things since we can only have 100 cards in a deck.
Yeah. And the nice thing about these is they do have basic land types, so you can fetch for them and then surveil. The way this deck is built, you will probably be playing the fetch lands over and over again as you get them. Okay, so we've mentioned a couple times getting lands out of the graveyard. Let's look at our section called Lands from Graveyard. Pretty straightforward. Tell us about how we're getting our lands out of the graveyard.
Yeah, so there's 3 cards that we put in this deck: Conduit of Worlds, Crucible of Worlds, and Ramonop Excavator. They all do fairly similar things where it's, may play lands from your graveyard. Conduit of Worlds has a little bit more on it, but this is going to let us, once we start milling cards into the graveyard, let us start playing from there instead of our hand, and just keep the steam going. World Shaper and Head Shredder, we mentioned Head Shredder in our last Reanimator video. This one is, if you didn't see it in this one of these links, this card is a monster. It's a vehicle that crews for 1. It's a 5/5. When it attacks, you may mill 2 cards. Whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from the graveyard from their library, put it on the battlefield tapped. So, I mean, there's a lot of mill in this deck. So, you may not even crew it. It might just be sitting there, and suddenly you just got 3 lands, 4 lands for doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Super good. And then World Shaper, when he attacks, he mills, and then when he dies, return all land cards that are in your graveyard to the battlefield tab.
Yeah. And I do, since you mentioned that there's a lot of mill, I do want to point out the synergy between Head Shredder and Hedron Crab, because when a land comes into play, you're probably targeting yourself with Hedron Crab. You're going to mill 3 cards. If any of those are lands, Head Shredder is going to put them onto the battlefield, and you're going to repeat that process.
Yeah,
You're
it's
just gonna
gonna go
go.
crazy.
Yeah.
Now we didn't put stuff like Thassa's Oracle or the Jace that lets you, it's possible to deck yourself out. We haven't, we couldn't find space for it, but I'm sure if that's something you're a concern of yours, you could find
Couldn't
space
hurt.
for.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah,
reason this
certainly.
isn't a 4 or 5 because we don't have a lot of the big combo finishes, but there are some small synergies that could in the game if your deck is properly.
Thassa's Oracle, I meant Lab Maniac. I don't know why.
They're similar.
It's a Freudian slip.
Yeah, and so these will get you lands out of the graveyard, but it can still only do it once a turn. So tell us about this section. How are we getting multiple lands a turn?
Yeah, this is where you want to put the pedal to the metal. We're not content with just playing one land a turn. We want to get these land drop triggers over and over and over. So we've added a lot of cards like Azusa, Lost But Seeking, Dryad of the Elysian Grove, Exploration, Oracle Moldiah, and Wayward Sawtooth that all lets us get at least one extra land drop. God help us if we get all 5 on the battlefield and just start going crazy. But yeah, these are all going to let us, as we're milling, throwing a bunch of lands in the graveyard, we're also filling up our hand. We can start getting all out on the battlefield and just, we want to just outvalue people as fast as we can.
All right. I want to look at the card draw package because now we've explained we have a bunch of lands. We have ways to put them in our graveyard with this small mill package plus a lot of incidental mill plus fetch lands, right? And plus card draw, and sometimes you might have to discard the hand size. There's just so many ways for your lands to be in your graveyard and for us to be playing them over and over again from the graveyard. Let's talk about some of the payoffs. So first, I want to talk about the card draw. A lot of this card draw, I think, is based on the ability to play things out of your graveyard. Are there any particular ones you want to highlight?
I mean, we've mentioned Muldrotha. She's going to be kind of we're saying she's card draw because she can get every permanent type out of your graveyard. And that's as if you had drawn, each one of those cards, as long as you got the mana, of course. AC, Tyrant of Gyre Strait, and Tatiova, Benthic Druid, and even the Gitrock monster. If you've played against any of these, you know how absolutely out of control they can get with card draw. I used to have a Tatiova, Benthic Druid deck, and I mean, she just draw a card, play a land, draw a card, play a land, draw. It's just a cycle that just feeds into itself. So those are super exciting, supercharged.
Yeah, absolutely. And it should be noticed here that AC, Tyrant of Gyre Strait, and the Gitrog monster both also let you play extra lands.
Yes.
So it keeps the cycle going. But yeah, they can all snowball. AC's pretty busted, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. And he looks rad as hell.
Yes.
Big sea serpent. Whoo!
Yeah. Then there's also Tireless Tracker. Just your lands get you clues. You made an interesting point when we were building this about Braid's Arisen Nightmare that just warmed my little black heart.
Yeah, this one really kind of felt like an inspired thought. I'm sure I'm not the first person that's ever thought of this, but this Braid's Arisen Nightmare, she's black, and 1 for a 3/3 nightmare. At the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice an artifact, creature, enchantment, land, or planeswalker. If you do, each player may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with it. For each opponent who doesn't, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. In my mind, I'll sacrifice land. I don't care. I'll just get it right back out. That could be backbreaking for your opponents. And I don't know, unless they're playing a land deck also, they're going to let you draw the card and they're going to lose 2 life. I feel like that's the upside. So you're getting, you lose 1 land that you can get out your next turn, and then you maybe gain 3 cards in your hand, and they each lose 2 life. I think it's cool. And we're also making tokens, like creature tokens, with a lot of these landfall effects. So it could be, sacrifice a creature also.
Yeah. I mean, Teval also makes tokens. So you've got tokens coming out of the command zone that can fuel braids for creatures. You can sack clues or treasure tokens from like Tireless Tracker or Tireless Provisioner. So yeah, there's lots of fuel for braids if you have a problem to be able to pick off.
Yeah, she lets you apply the right kind of pressure that you need. There's not really like enchantment stuff, but other than that, she lets you put a lot of pressure on.
Yep. So Kishla kind of plays from the other angle. Kishla and Teval's Judgment both are whenever you're playing cards out of your graveyard, you can draw a card. They both only trigger once, but it's just one more thing, right? You play that fetch land with Crucible of Worlds, you'll get some card draw from Kishla, Skimmer, or Teval's Judgment. So just some extra draw. The interaction is fairly straightforward. There's a couple of interesting cards here. You'll kind of notice that it's a little light. We only have 8 cards in our interaction section. That is because we've got a few things like Boseiju that can also serve as removal. Were there any interesting things in the interaction section that you...
When I had my Tatiova deck, a card I had in there was Constant Mist. Another card I've mentioned in a previous episode that people underestimate the fog. It's green and 1. It's an instant. Creatures deal no combat damage this turn, but the fun thing about it is it's got buyback, where you can sacrifice a land. If you do, it'll go back to your hand. So repeatable protection from getting crackbacks.
Yeah. And the
this
funny
is
thing
the deck that would have the money for it, or the mana for it.
And the great thing about a repeatable fog like Constant Mist is once you've played it once and they know you have it, then they start attacking your opponents. They're doing your dirty work for you because
It's like,
no one wants to waste their attack knowing it's going to be constant misted. So they just say, okay, I guess I'll attack them, and makes your job easier. Basically, they all turn on each other, even though you're clearly the problem with Constant Mist. So yeah, I want to point out Royal Elemental here.
Yeah.
Royal Elemental, it costs 6 for a 3/2. It feels bad unless you can immediately take advantage of it. And this is a deck that can do that, where if you play your Royal Elemental and then play your fetch land twice out of the graveyard, you're going to take the 4 best creatures on the board. And you can activate it at instant speed with fetch lands. So that's the big one. If someone decides they're going to swing at you, you go, actually, never mind, I'll just take that.
Right. It's also like a very nice, shields up protection. People don't want to get on your bad side with this card on the field. And you can also, like you said, with the hold your fetch lands up, and then on the instep before your turn, crack them, take them. That way you don't have summoning sickness.
Yeah, really good. Okay, some of the other ones, I'll just quickly touch on Noxious Scarehulk and Apex Altasaur. They take out creatures. Even though the biggest thing we're getting out of our graveyard is lands, there are some good creature recursion spells in this deck with the goal of getting back all of your payoffs, because you're going to have a target on your head when you're playing the big mana creatures and your board is full of tokens, and you feel that this sense of inevitability because you're getting 5 land drops a turn. 2 land drops plus a couple of fetch lands in your graveyard the value piles on. So that means the removal is going to be pointed at your stuff and you want to get it back. So I like the creature-based removal, the creature-based interaction that can then be used with that recursion. So let's talk about that recursion. Are there any of these in particular that you want to talk about?
Every one of the mothers talked about this card when it was, shown for the first time. It comes in this precon, so another reason to pick it up. It's Colossal Grave Reaver. It's a green, black, and 7/6 dragon with flying. Whenever this creature enters or attacks, mill 3 cards. Whenever one or more creatures are put into your graveyard from your library, put 1 on the battlefield.
Yep. So while
Crazy
you're milling,
time.
you're milling,
it doesn't have to be him.
Yeah. Your Hedron Crab mills a creature. There it is. Yeah.
This card is so crazy, and it's also a very expensive card right now.
Yes, it is. Even though it's in the precon, it's over $10. The Phyrexian and Reclamation, real simple. Pay your mana, get your creature back. You're able to replay it. We've already talked
in the precon.
Also in the precon, Victimize is in the precon, and you should check out our video here. We talked a lot about Victimize. It's one of our favorite reanimation spells.
Wonderful.
Love it to death. Good. And if you don't want to sacrifice one of your good creatures, this deck's making a bunch of tokens. Real easy to just get back 2 monsters with very little investment for 3 mana. Marin of Clan Neltoth also comes in the precon, which blows my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing here that it's less than $1, but Marin is really great because you don't have to have the experience counters. You play her, and on your instep, she's going to get you a creature from your graveyard to your hand. So if you don't have the engine of getting creatures dying like a dedicated Marin deck might, she's still recurring your valued creatures back to your hand. Right? They picked off your Lotus Cobra early because they saw what it would do. Okay, play your Marin, get back your Lotus Cobra. Like it's amazing. I wanted to point out Tasker here, not necessarily because it's the best recursion spell. And in fact, it's one of those where your opponent gets to choose, and that makes it significantly worse. But what I like is it's a way to get back the things that are not lands or creatures. If they're giving you back lands or creatures, great. They're playing right back into your game plan. But you can get back some of the instants and sorceries or artifacts that have been milled or killed, and it puts your opponent in a tough spot. I like having an additional way to get back milled cards that don't necessarily fit into the game plan, and he is still milling you mill the 2 cards and fill your deck.
Yeah,
So
he's also got Delve attached to him, which you said it's not ideal because your opponent gets to choose. But with Delve, you can kind of sculpt your graveyard to like, let me get rid of the trash one so they won't give me that. So only like mid tier and high tier value cards are left in the graveyard.
yeah, and Delve does trigger all the leaves the graveyard stuff from this deck. It does trigger Teval and Teval's Judgment and the Skimmer. So that when you play the card, you can set those things off and then still get your stuff back. The ramp package here is fairly straightforward. In addition to the play extra land cards, play lands out of your graveyard, we have your basic. You got to put a Soul Ring in there. Farseek and Rampant Growth are your basic 2 mana green ramp spells. I'm a big fan of cards like Milliken in graveyard decks. There's also Deranged Assistant.
He hasn't convinced me yet, but he's making the case for it. So.
Yeah. We didn't put it
Let
in
him
there
cook,
because
we'll
he
see.
wasn't convinced. Yeah. But Milliken's in the pre-con, so it's still here in this list. Just the ability just for 2 mana to mill every turn and ramp every turn, right? That you go up a mana and you're milling every turn. To me just feels really good in a deck that plays out of its graveyard. And it is mill on command. You just wait and just say, all right, put something else in the graveyard when I want it. So I like cards like that. We also have the landfall ones, which are Tireless Provisioner, which gives you a food or treasure token whenever a land enters the battlefield. And then Lotus Cobra, which gives you a mana when a land enters the battlefield. Late game, these can be huge boosts. And early game, when you still have lands in hand, you haven't set up the engine yet, they can still, they provide ramp. I especially like how Tireless Provisioner can save your mana for across turn.
Yes, I like that too. Or I guess give you food if you feel like you're getting a little low on life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, late game. Let's say you spent the first few turns building your engine while someone's getting in with an aggressive deck. Well, once your engine's set up, Tireless Provisioner helps you regain that life. So yeah. There are some interesting ones here. Harrow and Springbloom Druid don't go in every deck, but because they involve sacking lands to ramp, they are actually really, really good in this deck. I would also add one of Travis's favorite cards, the
Dreamscape Artist.
Dreamscape Artist. Yeah, I would put a Dreamscape Artist in here. It's a little bit slower than these, but the ability to put cards in your graveyard both from the battlefield and from your hand in order to ramp, I think plays well in this deck. So if you find other cards in here that you don't necessarily like, that would be a good one to add in here.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, and Will of the Sultai is another one that mills and gets lands out of your graveyard, comes in the pre-con, but it does have an alternate mode. Late game, it's an overrun. You put X counters on target creature, where X is the number of lands you control, and it gains trample. So once you've put 15 lands on the battlefield and you need to close out the game, it doubles as that. So I like the versatility of that one.
Yeah, I mean with Teval or whatever, having flying, being a 4/4, could easily get to one-shot range.
Yeah, definitely. And it's counters, so he can stay in one-shot range.
Yeah.
Last thing I think we need to talk about are the payoffs. We've been doing all this ramping. We've been filling our graveyard. What are we doing with it?
What's it all for?
Why are we doing this? What payoffs did you come up with?
So there's some good ones that come with the deck. There's Obnixilus the Fallen. He's got Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you may have the target player lose 3 life. If you do, put 3 counters on him. I feel like this is something that can get pretty crazy pretty fast if people are unready for it. There's Multani, Yavimai's avatar. This one he gets +1/+1 for each land you control and each land in your graveyard. Cultivator Colossus, similar thing, but it also, when this creature enters the battlefield, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tap. If you do, draw a card and repeat this process. If you get lucky, you might be getting a lot of cards and just, ramming a ton at one turn. So Scute Swarm, I feel like is probably the biggest one we put on here. This one has just an exponential growth, in the way that Cultivator Colossus and Multani go tall, this goes wide with the amount of lands you're creating. A Scoot Swarm, when a land enters, you can create a 1/1 green insect creature token. If you control 6 or more lands, which would be easy in this deck, create a token that's a copy of Scoot Swarm instead. One land would make a Scoot Swarm, and another land would make, so then you have 4 Scoot Swarms, then 8 and 16, 32, exponential growth.
And then there are a couple that are just enter the battlefield, create tokens. There's when landfall, opponents lose life. And then we were like, we need something late game where we've made so much mana that we want to just end the game. And we settled on Villainous Wealth.
It just felt criminal to not put it in this deck.
Yeah, any Sultai ramp deck should be playing Villainous Wealth. It's so much fun to resolve. You can mill an opponent and then cast off all their stuff to kill your other opponent.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you get to X equals 10 or more, it should end the game. But it's going to end the game in an interesting way. It's not like a combo. It's okay. I just got 10 to cast 10 spells.
Yeah, it's suddenly something you'll remember.
Yes,
every time you cast a big one. We were also torn between this and Torment of Hailfire. Torment of Hailfire is arguably the better card. Not arguably, it is the better card. It's hitting all your opponents at once, and instead of the chance of winning, like Villainous Wealth gives you, it would just probably win the game for you. Again, we settled for Villainous Wealth because it just felt very fun to resolve, and we're not trying to go crazy.
And then the top end landfall ones are, of course, Rampaging Veloth, which gets you a huge token every turn, and Avenger of Zendikar, which makes an army of plants that grow every turn, and those two help you go wide on top of the taller ones. So that's our upgraded precon of Teval. There's lots of ways you could take that deck. If you wanted to go into a more traditional Reanimator, check out our cards for Reanimator up here to take out some of the bad cards. If you want to see this deck in all its glory, not with me controlling it, but with you controlling it, link is in the description down below on our My Mythical Meta Architect page. Upgrading precons is fun, and it's easy to do, and the vast majority of the cards that we just showed you were in that precon. So yeah, if you have the top end cards or you have a good color printer, then put together a deck like this and just have fun with the landfall triggers. I love landfall decks. I love Sultai.
Yeah, I think everyone should have at least one landfall deck to just really feel the power. And I think that's why Randy doesn't super feel that spark. It's because he doesn't have a landfall deck.
He's right.
He's so mad about green always being so good, and he's so resistant that I think once he finally gives in, he's like, oh, actually, this was fun. My bad. But he's too proud to admit it.
That's probably what, all the people who don't play green. Like I'm a black player at heart. I love my black decks, but I add green to them because that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I had black to mine because, like, hey, I want to win.
Right. Yes, I think Sultai is both of our favorite color combinations. And so you picked a good precon for us to upgrade. So, all right. Thank you, listener. If you want to suggest other precons for us to upgrade, or you want to see how a deck can be pivoted into something fun to play, email us at mymythicalmeta@gmail.com. We're always taking comments. We are very involved in the comments. We see what you write. We respond. If you have suggestions or ideas on how this deck could be improved, let us know. Sound off in the comments. Argue about it. Derek probably won't. I was about to say Derek probably won't respond, but I will.
I won't respond. You'll never see me. But yeah, if you build this deck and it works out, let me know. If it doesn't, Benjamin forced me into it. I didn't want to put Milliken in here, and he said,
"It was
Derek,
you're
gonna do
already. Milliken came with the deck."
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, listener, for listening, and thank you, Derek, for being my good friend. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
This episode was sponsored by Eldorado Gaming. Use the promo code META for 10% off your order. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. This episode was edited by me, Travis Konishek, and our intro and outro music is by Tyler Heath of the Oh Hellos.